You're listening to the Ones Ready podcast, a team of Air Force Special Operators forged in combat with over 70 years of combined operational experience, as well as a decade of selection instructor experience. If you're tired of settling and you want to do something you truly believe in, you're in the right place. Now here's your favorite CCT personality, JTAC extraordinaire, embracer of the ridiculous face, and like the shortest operator you'll ever meet, Peaches.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Ones Ready podcast. You're in the team room with Brian, Trent, and I. We want to welcome everybody back. We really appreciate you guys listening and subscribing and hopefully leaving a good review. If not, tell us how bad we're doing. So, like normal, we've got our partners that we partner with. We've got, for your naturally born caffeine, we've got Alpha Brew Coffee Company. For your energy on the go, we have Strike Force Energy. For your rucks, your military gear, and getting out and hunting, we have Eberly stock. And we actually brought somebody new on who is Hoist. So it's a hydration drink. It gives you IV level hydration. I know I've been using it for probably about a month now. Really like it. I think, Trent, didn't you say you had a PR the other day and you think it was because of this?
Yeah. I mean, usually I think most of the stuff is nonsense. I read the label, I'm like, sure. Whatever, and then I start drinking it, and I was just like, "Oh, there's a noticeable difference when I'm doing what I'm doing."
Yeah, I like smashing it after a workout. But so, if you're interested in any of those or trying them out, go to their websites and then enter the promo code ONESREADY, and you'll get a discount. We get a lot of questions all the time, which is great. We love the questions. We want you to keep them coming. Some of them or not. Some of them. A lot of them are repeat questions. So what we want to do is kind of hit some of the frequently asked questions, kind of like we have done in the past. Some of these might be a double tap, but there are still people that are out there asking for it, so we felt that it was important to cover it. So I'm going to start asking you guys some questions, and then we'll go from there.
Let's do it.
Yeah. All right. First question is, if I'm over 18 years old, do I actually have a chance of making it? What if I'm in my 30s? What do you think, Trent?
I'd say yes and yes. You know what I mean? Like, it's wholly dependent on who you are, the preparation that you've put in, and your willingness to push through, all the hurdles that you're going to encounter in the pipeline. I've seen guys that enlisted when they were 17, shipped as soon as they were 18, make it through the pipeline, and I've seen guys that were, early to later 30s make it through the pipeline, and I've seen everybody in between, including those age groups, quit. And so I don't think it has as much to do with age. I think there's advantages on both sides, obviously. If you're 18, you're not going to feel like me every morning after being crushed. But if you're in your 30s and you have a little more life experience, some of the psychological hurdles that you might come up against, you'll have a better perspective, or you might have more perspective. I don't want to say better, more perspective on what those are and the reasoning behind everything that's happening, and it might make it easier in that way.
Yeah, I think really important that what you said. The person that has 30 years in their life has a better perspective on life in general, and they've seen more things. They've been, at a certain job. They may have started a career somewhere else and decided it's not for them, but they have a purpose and a reason why they're there, because they could have potentially had a successful career in something else that they had studied. They probably went to college. They probably have, a spouse or something like that. So there's other things that are driving them, but those are also kind of distractors. So if you're in that later age group joining, and the cutoff is 39, because we also get that question a lot. Just want to throw that out there, 39 years old. But if you're in that older age group, just consider those factors and take care of your finances, your family, and everything, so you can focus on the pipeline and getting through selection. On the other hand, those guys that are 18 years old or just a little bit on the young side, the best thing that they do is they recover fast, and they don't have to worry about all those other things that are back at home or whatever. When I went through, I was 20 years old. I didn't really have much else back at home that I had to worry about. It's like, okay, I'm in the military. They're going to pay for me to do everything I need to do. So all I need to do is focus on getting through INDOC. So that was a benefit for, being a little bit younger.
I think the cut line is you know what a hangover is versus you don't know what a hangover is.
Yeah. I hit 21 when I was in dive school during pool week, so that's when I found out what that was. Legally.
Well, it if you are an older guy too, and you're coming through, guy or gal, and you're coming through, understand that just because of your age, unless there's other cross trainees in your team or on your team, and there likely will be, but even them, they will look to you for a little bit of, hey, I need some mentorship, at least in the game of life. And it could translate into that as well, but I definitely remember as a 17-year-old looking up to not only the older guys, but also the guys that were cross trainees. So, all right, next
100%.
question.
We crushed it.
Should I take classes or study anything prior to joining? Over to you, Brian.
All right. So the big one that we get with this is for pararescue specifically. Should we do the paramedic thing before we go into becoming a PJ? I say if you want to do that and you have time in your schedule, you don't think you're ready or something like that, sure, go ahead and do that. But don't waste time trying to do that outside of the military, because the military is going to pay you and they're going to train you up with all the medical knowledge that you need to have in order to be a successful pararescueman. And it's the same thing with CCT. You're not going to go over there and try and get an ATC job or anything before you go into the pipeline. It's not necessary. You're going to be there. That's going to be your main function, but they're going to teach you exactly what you need to know in order to do that. I'd say if you have time or you're just trying to get through college, because you have to experience college first. Everybody's different. I kind of did the same thing. I went to college 2 years because I thought that's what I was supposed to do, but I ended up, switching over and going to the military. So if you have to do that, then sure, you could take anatomy, you could take all that stuff. It'll help you. And if that's what you're interested in, then yeah, do it. But other than that, don't waste time just trying to get through a college course to think that it's going to give you an upper hand or something when it comes to selection, because it's personality based, not knowledge based.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the other things that we like to talk about is training scars, right? Having to unlearn things to relearn them the way that we do it. When you're in the pipeline, even if the way that we're teaching you is not necessarily the way that it's happening in the real world, you will be graded on doing it each task the exact way that we teach you how to do it, and you're expected to do that. So sometimes real world experience across all the skill sets that are required in the pipeline can be a little bit. It can be something that you have to overcome. Another thing that you have to overcome. I have an example. It's kind of a silly example, but when I was an instructor at Keesler, we had a guy and we were teaching them how to do kettlebells. We do it a very specific way to keep it safe for the guys that have never touched a kettlebell before. And we had a guy that was like a high-level CrossFit dude that's like, no, that's not how you do it. You swing and he wanted to get in this big old argument with us. And we're like, dude, that's not how we do it here. And so like to him, getting past just something as simple as that on how you do kettlebell cleans and presses and all that other stuff, he wasted some energy and it wasted our time, and it didn't really help him at all in the pipeline. Yeah,
and if you're going back to Brian talking about college, if you're going to have to get student loans to do some of this, pre-military academics and training, like it's not worth it. It's definitely not worth going in debt for, because we're going to pay you to learn how to do it. So,
exactly.
Only Dodge Challengers are worth going into debt for. Sorry, that's like a lower
Do you actually
joke.
have a Dodge Challenger?
I don't. It's just, like the Mustangs or the Camaros or the Challengers that are sold right outside base for ridiculous APRs.
Yeah, they're all V6s.
Yeah.
With 26% APR.
Every
you don't need to go in
one.
debt if you spend your entire bonus on it.
Yeah. Well, that's the 7th group parking lot when you want to,
Yeah.
Okay, next question. Should I take swim classes before joining? Brian?
All right. So a lot of people, they start off, they're like, I've never swum before in my life. Where do I get started? If you're in high school and you have access to a swim coach, then join the swim team or join a summer swim league, join any of that kind. I did, 1.5 summers of swim team whenever I was like 14 or something like that. That's all the training that I had, but that set me up to at least know the basics. And then from there, when I was at the pool, swimming at the Gold's Gym or whatever, I would talk to the old people that knew or looked like they knew what they were doing, and I'd ask them to teach me how to swim and told them why I was training and all that kind of stuff. And they, liked doing that kind of stuff, and they liked the mentorship. So I did that, and if you can find someone to coach, another thing that a lot of people have had a lot of success with is total immersion swimming. It's a book that's out there, and a lot of guys have found that really useful for training. I personally have not done all the training that's in the book, but that's another thing that I just throw out there.
I think we're the old people at Gold's Gym now, teaching people how to swim. But
yeah, probably.
That's all I could think about when you said the old people.
That's if they were open.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, now.
Like, 18-year-old Brian walks in there and like he sees old people, and I'm like, I think that's us now.
We have our stuff set up on the side of the pool just so we can get our stuff and our cell phone doesn't get wet.
That's just training scars.
Yeah, that's true.
Don't touch my stuff.
That's true.
That's all that is.
Like kids doing cannonballs and you're yelling at them.
Trying to do laps here.
It's a 3-foot pool. You're going to hit your head. Be careful.
But
go ahead.
No, just to answer the question, the more time you can spend in the water, the better. I could probably save my own life for about 50 meters in calm water when I joined. That was the extent of my water comfort. So I always recommend spend a lot of time in the pool. Even if you're just swimming laps, just all that time you're facing the water is going to pay off.
So in this same swimming vein that we're in right now, do you think guys should be practicing freestyle, finning, or both?
I'll let you go first, Trent. Since I went first last time.
I mean, I didn't have a pair of fins before I joined. You know what I mean? Like I'm a victim of my circumstance. If you have fins and you can train to it correctly, and you can watch the videos that that your lead arm, trail arm, and all the different strokes, your combat rescue stroke, and all that. Yeah, why not? Why not train with fins? I know personally though, like I did a lot of freestyle swimming in the beginning, and I think what that helped me develop was real awareness of hydrodynamics and how my body worked in the water. And so without the fins, I didn't have that. I'm a pretty good finner, you know what I mean? So like the first time I put fins on, it wasn't a big deal going from all the hundreds of meters that I'd put in just slick freestyle. It was a pretty easy transition, but I learned how my body reacts in the water, how to get actual fast, and how to relax in the water without any of that stuff. And I think that paid off for me. And that might have just been a psychological thing for me. But I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with training with fins.
Yeah, I'd say if you're gonna get fins, a lot of guys start off with the trainer fins, which are the ones that are fit like a sock. You don't need a booty for, and then work your way up, or alternate between your jet fins if you have the funds to buy the jet fins and the booties and everything. But alternate between those no fins and kickboard. I like to just vary it up, like Trent was saying, spend hours and hours in the pool and learn how to swim and learn how your body flows through the water and how to keep yourself as streamlined as possible. Get fast with every single kind of stroke you can. Obviously, you're going to have to do the lead arm, trail arm. You're going to have to do the combat recovery or the combat side stroke, whatever you want to call it. It's the same stroke. But you can learn those later on. What you need to know is be comfortable in the water and be able to,
I said combat rescue, didn't I? Instead of combat recovery. I'm so stupid.
Hey man, that's you, not me. I didn't say it. I say other stupid stuff. Don't worry about it.
They're probably changing the name anyway. It'll probably be the combat rescue stroke here soon.
It'll be the Brian Silva stroke.
Yeah, exactly.
I usually tell guys, hey, if you have fins, great. If not, probably not worth going out and buying any, unless you have unlimited funds and you can just throw it around. But to me, freestyle is more difficult than finning anyway. So for me, it helped me more just focusing on freestyle. But.
Yeah, I just want to throw in, I'd say the same thing about a ruck. Like, it's nice to have, the nice, super cushy ruck or whatever. And I like Everly stock, so there's nothing against them. Don't not buy their stuff if you have the funds. But like when I was deployed, or sometimes if I didn't have my ruck right nearby because I had to keep it ready or I had to keep it, in order, I would just literally have a salt bag with a strap, and I just put it on my back and just hold it with the little strap right here and on top of my neck. All you need to do is get used to the weight. You don't have to spend like $500 or whatever if you don't have the funds. Then just find something that's heavy and then carry it. If it's harder, then that's fine. Figure out a way to make it, so you can carry that load, shift it to shoulders or whatever. But same thing with fins and rucking. You don't have to spend a ton of money on everything in order to get prepared. So,
Nope.
Yeah, it's not an excuse to not join if you don't have all the Gucci stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. Next question is, I'm going to shoot it to Trent. When should I contact the special operations recruiter? Well, my answer to that is, why haven't you already? But I'll go over to you, Trent.
Yeah, sorry. I got kids in the house. But my response is, as soon as you're done watching this video and hitting subscribe and the notification button, or whatever it is on Apple and Spotify, you should go contact the SOAR to get all the data you need to join if you're interested, or to make that transition and to start preparing to join. That's my answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of guys, I think their apprehension is just because they think that once they contact a recruiter that they're going to have a ship date and be sent out immediately. You don't have those barriers, and no one's going to pressure you to do that. You're in the seat, you're in control. They're not going to force you to do anything that you don't want to do. And if you say, no, I don't want to ship until whatever date, they can't say you have to, or else you're not going to be in the Air Force. There's a bunch of other recruiters, and no one should be pushing you around or bullying you like that. You tell them that you're interested, and their job is to give you as much information to make an educated decision as possible, just like what we're doing here is to try and let you make your own educated decision. So don't be apprehensive about it. If one guy rubs you the wrong way, talk to another SOAR recruiter, and we keep on posting links on IG on how to get in contact with them and working with a hopefully better process very soon that'll hopefully include an interactive map, kind of like the Cone Connect. So
Yeah.
that's
On
at PJ.
PJ.com.
Yeah. It's a free resource. And
There's a link on the One's Ready website as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my thing is, you get people that are worried about medications they've taken. The SOAR will be able to tell you immediate disqualifiers right off the bat. And if not, then at least you go to MEPS, you meet with the doctors, and then they can talk waivers and what is or is not. But before you put all this blood, sweat, and tears into training, which, hey, it's cool, go train anyway, right? But what I don't want you to do is, maybe you are, buying a swim coach. Maybe you are going out and you bought some insane ruck and fins and everything like that. I don't want you to do that until you at least find out that, hey, I'm good to go. And those SOARs that we work with, additionally, once you get cleared from MEPS, you get to join a development session with the SOAR and a developer. So it only benefits you to go see a SOAR sooner, get through MEPS, and then press on.
Dude, shout out to those guys out in Tampa. Their sessions look super legitimate. Yeah. I'm always hitting them up and being like, this is amazing.
Dude, Sergeant Spencer doesn't mess around.
Yeah.
And their developer out there is a retired CCT chief, and he's well known for being a monster. So he doesn't look it, but he's apparently a stud.
They're crushing it.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Brian, I'm going to shoot this one to you. Is there a quote-unquote dream sheet of jobs that you can volunteer for if you wash out?
Yeah, so that's the whole thing with the new contracts. Obviously, we were talking about, you can go watch the other episode about the SWOE contracts and check out what's the deal with that. But once you wash out, obviously no one plans to do that, and no one plans to quit or any of that kind of stuff if you get injured or something like that. Depending on your merit and how well they think you did through selection, you will get the opportunity to retrain into possibly like EOD or SEER or something like that, which is a supporting role to the operational side of things. So a lot of guys may get that, but if you don't get that, then it is what it is, and you'll get a retraining package into a normal kind of list based on the needs of the Air Force, of course. You fill out your top jobs and see what you kind of get. And then you'll get the chance to retrain. It's kind of gone back and forth. If you want to come back, you have to fulfill about half of your contract, whatever that is, for the new job that you have. So that's currently what the rule is. But if you, like I said, if you qualify to go into the other jobs and the cadre think that you would be a good fit, you just weren't there to get to PJ, CCT, or SR, TAC P, then you get another opportunity. So.
Look, and I know all of our listeners are going to make it, so it doesn't really matter. So you can tell the other people that don't make it, like, this is how it's going to go down once you get into the pipeline. If you're not selected or you quit or whatever, you're going to sit down with the MTLs and some other people, and you're going to go through your options. But there's a lot of factors that go into where you can go after that, like your AFSW score and a few other things. All the career fields have different requirements. So you don't need to worry about that before you join, or once you join the pipeline, the Once Ready audience, you can tell the people once they quit that this is what's going to happen, and they'll have the opportunity to cross-train into stuff that they're qualified for.
Yep. And one of the other things that I've seen, and I'll just hit it real quick, is I've seen people talk about going in to the Air Force and doing a normal Air Force job and then expecting to cross-train. Here's why that's a bad idea. One, there's a lot of things can happen to you, in your life in that time frame from you entering the Air Force to when you decide to cross-train, if you ever, because I'll tell you what, people that plan to do that, most of the time do not end up cross-training because something comes up or they're nervous about it, kind of like they were nervous before they joined. So don't do that. Also, we have a limited number of cross-training slots that we allow people. So that is one of the biggest things, because, man, that would suck if you're all in and you're ready to go, you got great scores, and they only release, and I'm literally pulling numbers, I don't know, say they release 6 slots and there's 12 of you guys that are cross-training. Man, you were ready and you had a great package, but you weren't selected, and that just sucks. So that's why I would not hit another job and then go into it, or not plan to do that anyway. So moving on to the next one, Trent, can females actually make it through?
I don't see why not. Who asked this question? This is a ridiculous question.
I did not write anybody's. I didn't want to call anybody out, but these are just some questions that I have received, and especially because we've talked about this in the past, and
well, and it's like I told you guys before we started the podcast. My first reaction to that question was, why don't you join, get through the pipeline, and you come back and tell us, But that's just my initial reaction. I'm a terrible person on the inside. Yeah. So the short answer is yes. The standards are the standards. It is what it is. There's nothing that said we did a very long study, and it's still ongoing. It's called the Women in Service Review, and that the findings from that study say that the job is open for females, and according to science and the doctors, it's an absolute yes, and that's why it's open.
Yep.
Yeah, the doors are open. I've had a couple females that have started the programs and are currently doing the programs, but we haven't seen anybody that has fully made it through selection at this point. I don't know, Trent, do you know how far anyone who's made it specifically? The last I heard was 2 days was the last female that was in there. But
yeah, I'm not sure. But honestly, the numbers are so low that they're not really even statistics yet. You think about the number of males that join that don't make it, and it's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. Yeah. Until we're at, I don't know, a few hundred, I don't think it's really a valid statistic. Just my opinion.
No, but the important thing is that, like, the guys on team that are going to be there in the pipeline, and the guys, once at the operational units, they don't care whether you're a female or a male, as long as you've met the standards and you've gone through the same suck that they has, and you can operate accordingly.
Yeah. If there are any females out there, don't focus on being the first female PJ or CCT or whatever. Just focus on being the best. That's it. Just like everyone else is trying to do.
Yep.
In my experience, I haven't run into that. I just want to put it out there. And, most of the female candidates we have are not. They'd rather just be one of the candidates, and we haven't. I don't think we really run into any issues.
Good. That's awesome. All right, next one's for you, Brian.
All right.
Can PJs expect to see combat?
So, we get this question a lot. Like, do PJs really do weapons training? Do they really do whatever? The answer is yes to all the above. We do a lot of weapons training. We always carry a gun in combat. We're combatants, and we're not like, the dust off or whatever. We have guns on the side of our helicopter whenever we go in, and, our job is to defend ourselves. Now, that being said, our main job is not to go and shoot people in the face, and we tell people this a lot. Like, I didn't join to be a PJ to go in there and throw grenades, do the Call of Duty thing. I went in to be the person that has to go in there and, do medicine, perform it, knowing that I would have to, if I had to, shoot people. Obviously, that's part of the job, and we do our offensive measures first, and that's the best defense. But other than that, yes, you're going to go to many combat zones all the time, frequently, at least every other year. So you will see combat at some point if you're in long enough. If you're maybe your first deployment, you get out and it was to somewhere in Europe or Africa where there's nothing going on, maybe you won't.
I think Gavin said the Kuwait deployment, nothing really happened for him.
Yeah, I mean, there are those deployments, but if you get out after that, then you're not going to see anything. If you stay in long enough, definitely.
That's the case for any SEAL team, ODA team, controllers, SR. It is the right place, the right time, the right circumstances. And you never know when that's going to be.
Yeah, it's like if you visit Florida, are you going to see a hurricane? Yeah, if you stay there long enough, I mean, right? You'll probably see one if you stay there for 10 years. Yeah, so that's what you can expect. The same thing from any of the career fields, including SEALs, PJs, whatever. So,
do combat controllers see combat? I don't know. I've never heard of anything.
No, they just control it.
Never seen it a day in my life.
Sorry, I didn't mean to laugh. I apologize. It was just a kind of a funny question from my end.
All right, this one I've seen a few times, and it's disheartening because I feel for the candidates, but I don't have support from my family or my parents, and I don't have support from my friends. They're telling me not to go in. They're worried that it's dangerous and that I shouldn't be doing this. So, Trent, I'll pass this one off to you first and see what you come up with. So
the reason that all of us end up in this community, right, is I think we all have that itch to do something that is dangerous and scary, and the need to push ourselves physically and psychologically, and to serve our country, and to take care of our teammates, all those things, right? And those are all things that I think would be difficult to fulfill, needs that are difficult to fulfill in any other realm. So when your parents or your friends or anybody, they're non-supportive, I would say that's too bad. But one of the reasons we started this podcast is because there was a lot of misunderstanding and misinformation and just lack of information about what it is that we do, the type of people we are. And your parents and your friends and all those people are dealing with that same lack of information and I don't want to say ignorance because it sounds bad, but the ignorance of what it is, the Hollywood version of what we do, where you're in constant firefights 100% of the time, and all the people you're going to be serving with are animals or they're terrible people. That's just not the case. So if you have that drive and that willingness to serve, don't get caught up in that nonsense. Don't feel that negativity. Don't reciprocate that negativity. Just realize where it's coming from. It's probably coming from a place of concern, and then just move forward with what you want to do, and go fulfill your goals.
Yeah, I think that last thing you said, it's coming from a place of concern, is the majority of the things. I've had a lot of parents of guys that are going into SW talking about, what should they prepare for the kids? What should they expect? And it's awesome that the parents are reaching out, and we encourage that. If you guys have any questions, we're open to answering them. But my parents were the same way. They had no idea of what it was going to be like, and the only reference they have is what's in movies. So, of course, they don't want you to get hurt. They don't want their kid to go into something where they could potentially get hurt. But if you are a parent, or you can tell your parents, it's really the fulfillment of doing the job that we have been able to do that is going to change you for the rest of your life. And if you stop yourself from doing those things that you want to do, then you'll regret it later, or potentially, you might not get along with your parents, or kind of have some regrets later on just because they held you back. So don't let that be on your shoulders for the rest of your life. Go out there and try the things that you want to do, because time goes by really fast. And before you know it, you're not going to be able to do those things.
And it regrets the worst too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, it's awful. All right, I'm going to cover this question real quick, just because it's a fairly quick answer. Is, am I allowed to have, or am I allowed to join the Air Force Special Warfare having LASIK and PRK surgery? So what I have heard from the SOAR, and that is of June 2020, is that it's a 6 to 12 month wait, and that's assuming that there were no complications in the LASIK or PRK. But you have to check with your SOAR, and you're going to have to go to MEPS. So don't take our word for it, because this changes all of the time. I know that the vision requirements changed. I don't even know when that happened, but I just found out about it a couple weeks ago. So go see a SOAR, check with them before you go getting LASIK and PRK. You guys want to pile in on any of that, or good to move on?
Just say any medical conditions or questions, because we get a lot of these, like, I broke my leg when I was in high school, but I got a plate and now I could still do everything. Can I join? And our answer is like, yeah, I mean, probably. I've heard of people and I've seen students that have the same thing like you're talking about, I think. But there are a lot of different variations of surgery. And if anything went wrong, like Peterson, there are some complications or other things. They put a different kind of metal or whatever. There's a bunch of different variations that we can't say, yep, go ahead. They're going to accept you for sure, because we're not the authority on that.
Our force crews, is that the limit? We have no idea. Yeah. It's the doctors. It's like,
and then you want to go into a range of all the medications, and it's like, hey, since we're talking about, if there's medications that you're concerned about, check with a SOAR. But just know that some of those variables that they base them on are, what was the medication, how long did you take it, why did you take it, and how long has it been since you took it? So those are generally some of the questions that they're asking. But
pretty much with all drugs, both regular medications and illicit drugs. Yeah.
Recreational.
Yeah, recreational. Yeah.
I mean, once again, listen, subscribe, contact SOAR.
Yep.
Nice.
Do I need to get to a certain weight to look more like an operator, or will this increase my chances of being selected? Brian, you must have added that question in there.
Yeah.
Because I haven't gotten that one before.
I get that question a lot. They're like, well, I guess you got it the other day, is Peaches really 5'4"?
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Or whatever. Like, are you serious? Or do I need to get to a certain weight? I get that probably once a week. Guys are saying, I weigh 135, 140 pounds, and I'm really skinny or something like that. Do I need to get to a certain weight? And my answer is always like, yeah, eat right, do all that stuff nutritionally, try not to go to like Burger King and McDonald's fast food all the time. But more importantly, can you perform the standard, and can you be a good teammate? All those other attributes that we constantly talk about. We're not looking for a dude to put up on a poster every time that we hire a candidate. Although the hair does have to look good, the second thing is you have to be able to perform. So, majority of the time,
I got no hope.
Yeah. Well, that's why the older guys have a little bit of a disadvantage too. I forgot to mention that in the earlier thing, but
already starting at a deficit. That's terrible.
Exactly. So just make sure that you're able to perform the standards, and that is realistically all you need to be concerned about. Whether you weigh 200 pounds and conform the standard or not, then that's a thing. Actually, there is a thing with MEPS where you can't be a certain BMI, but barring that.
I think there is a underweight and an overweight that you can't be.
There's definitely an underweight at MEPS, or there was back in the day.
So, like you plugged earlier, see a SOAR, because they have that chart and that BMI chart that can tell you what it is.
Yeah, we don't do like a height and six-pack check, though, when you show up. We're not like, well, I can only see 4 of your abs. Get out. It's nothing stupid
I walk around with a keg.
Yeah, which is probably better when you're starting the pipeline.
the joke when I was going through, the pipeline was when you graduate NDOC, you look at twig, but you don't look like an operator or whatever until you actually get to your first unit and you actually start working out with the rest of the dudes that are able to, outlift you and out everything you because they've been lifting for a long time. So you're not going to get big until later.
But it's different though. So training for the pipeline and in the pipeline, you're training for something very specific, which is why we always say, hey, cool, if you're going to do weights, great, but make sure that you're doing pull-ups, push-ups, sit-ups, flutter kicks, sit-up, on and on and on, and not necessarily concerned about doing weight training, because as soon as you get out of the pipeline and you're on the team, I mean, dude, you're just going to be jacking steel all the time.
Yeah, first deployment is the first time I got, actually big with muscle, and I was, too big, but yeah.
Cool. Trent, did you want to pile on that, or are you good?
No, I mean, running gets harder when you get heavier, though. And that was my second deployment. I came home from my second rotation. I'm like, I am all that is man. And then I tried to run a 6-minute mile and almost died. And I was like, oh, this is a thing.
Yeah, that's why all those big dudes were struggling.
Yeah.
What is the best way to get started training? I'll put that to you, Trent.
Find your weakness. So, one of the other questions, this is how I look at it, is should I go do something else first? Should I train in something else first? Should I study something first? That's the thing that they talk about. And to me, you should just start training and figure out what you're not good at and focus on that. It's just I don't know, I was rolling around in my head earlier. I was watching some UFC fights, and I'm like, it occurred to me, why would you go train Muay Thai if your weakness is wrestling, and you don't know your weakness is wrestling until you start legitimately training. So go out there and find out what your weakness is, right? And train to your weakness. So to me, I'd go out there and take a pass test and start there and figure out what I'm not good at. So if you knock out your push-ups and your sit-ups, but you only get 5-6 pull-ups, that's what you need to be focusing on. And then keeping that other stuff going and getting yourself in the pool. But that's what should drive your training plan and your training focus. I don't know if I made a lot of sense there. I was watching UFC. I got amped. I was like, this kind of makes sense about why would you do this first? But you're not going to know that you what you suck at until you give it a go. In a real world situation, don't be like, I'm going to do my pull-ups all by, today, the only thing I'm going to do is pull-ups. You knock out 10. No, you should do it all the way that the past is performed and then figure out where your weaknesses are.
Yep.
Yeah. And just to add on that, I mean, the thing that you said about taking the pass test, that's exactly where I tell guys to start. And that's how I base the workout programs that I have on the website on bpj.com. If you can pass the pass, then you go to the higher echelon one. If you can't, then you go to the starting step where you have to train to pass the pass. And I try to make it as straightforward as possible. That is all you need to do. You have these workouts, and then you do them based on what you get on your score. And if you're weak at swimming, you're weak at whatever, use those tools like we were talking about, the total immersion, or get a buddy to help you out, find somebody, a coach. If you're in high school, use your coaches that you have at your school if you're able to do sports right now. But use those, find your weaknesses, just like Trent was saying, and make sure that you work on those. Just like Arnold Schwarzenegger, the famous thing he used to say when he was, training was his calves were weak, so he'd wear shorts all the time, and he'd make sure he hit his calves every single session because he wanted to get his calves jacked. So work on your weaknesses, find it. Don't work on your strengths. It feels good to work on your strengths, but use that as a reward. If you have huge biceps and you can lift 60 pound with each curl or whatever, then sure, make that your reward and make it a fun thing after you're done working on your weaknesses, not the only thing you do at the gym. So, yeah,
that's pretty common. People just don't want to work on their weaknesses. I've been guilty of it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I don't necessarily want to do burpees or assault bike.
Yeah. Well, and we all have one of these, a phone with all the world's information that's ever been collected in the palm of your hand. There's a lot of different places out there on the internet to go that are good places to go to figure out, how your body works and what you need to do to get better at it, and find the place that, resonates with you and get started.
Also, you could also find a accountability partner or find a way to hold yourself accountable. I've seen it done where you announce it on social media to the world, hey, I'm doing X challenge or X event, and it's several months away, And people, like, if they don't see you working towards it, your friends will probably start calling you out, or they should, or maybe you should want them to call you out. And I know that if I did that, I would get called out immediately. And that keeps me honest. It keeps me going for it, because I don't want to have to answer the mail on, oh man, I gave up, or something like that.
Yeah, that's what we used to do in the team room, is like, hey, I'm going to do a marathon, and it's going to be whatever. And everyone's, once a week or, once a month, they're like, how's your marathon training going? And if you're like, ooh, I kind of stopped running, or I kind of stopped whatever, then obviously there's a little bit of diminished trust, I guess, a little bit. But keeping yourself accountable is super important.
Well, that's how I ended up where I'm at right now. I just tell people what I'm going to do, and then it's super embarrassing if you don't follow through. And if your friends aren't the people that are going to call you out, you need new friends.
Yep.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Okay. So we're done with the questions. Are there any other questions or topics that you guys wanted to address before I close this out? No?
I got it.
All right, cool. We love the questions, all the interactions that we get on Instagram, YouTube comments, through our email. If you go to onesready.com, you can submit a question to us. You can also email us directly at info@onesready.com. And we'll get back to you guys. We try and get back as quick as possible. Sometimes we get bogged down with our actual jobs, and some people are moving and that kind of stuff. So, but all of these interactions, all of these questions and answers are why we exist. We're trying to give you the most current, up-to-date, and relevant information that is out there. We understand that this is not easy. It is a difficult task to get through Air Force Special Warfare. And even when you're on the teams, it's still difficult. It doesn't change. So one other thing to consider, and this doesn't necessarily go in line with the questions that we had, but if you're coming into these career fields, you need to be a self-starter, meaning you need to be able to be proactive, take initiative, problem solve. Some of the questions that we do get, and again, this may sound bad, but because we love the questions that we're getting, but sometimes all it would take would be a simple Google search, or if you listen to the podcast, like, those questions are going to be answered. Now, if you have something very specific, rock on, and we will continue to answer these questions. We enjoy doing it. Again, it's why we exist, but we are looking for problem solvers, self-starters. So if you're not one, start becoming one.
Well, because Aaron's not here, I'm just going to say he's the one that complains about all the questions all the time. It's, Aaron gets very upset about all the questions that you could have just Googled.
Okay, so as always, we really appreciate your time spending it with us, watching our stuff. Again, visit our partners, Alpha Brew Coffee Company, Strike Force Energy, Eberly Stock, and Hoist. And we'll see you next time. Oh, and that promo code is OnesReady. So unless you guys have anything else, we're out.
Later.
Appreciate it.
Each breath.